The Timeshift.
Hello everybody, this week I'm going to be doing something slightly different, as this week I'm going to be recording myself as I'm watching the episode. Maybe get some great reactions recorded. Now the episode is just about to start, so we'll see exactly how it goes. Will this be the ultimate season finale? Will this be the great last hurrah for Stephen Moffat? We shall soon find out, but you know what? Maybe I'll use all this footage, maybe I'll lose a little bit of it. All I'll say is, we're about to begin. Oh no! No! No, fuck you! Fuck you! Oh, fuck you! Fuck off! No! 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 You... Oh, fuck off! Fuck you! Either I'm not enjoying this as much as I thought it would be, or me recording this reaction stuff is just making me excessively sassy. I'm not entirely sure which is which. I don't honestly know whether that was genius or... There's going to be spoilers ahead. Alright, so okay, sorry about that. I apologise for that. I apologise for the screamy, shouty start to this week's episode, but come on! Here we are now. This is the final proper time shift for a good few months now. At least until the Christmas special, unless Class comes back. This is my last opportunity to do something big, wild, stupid and silly. So I might as well get it out of my system whilst I still can. Now for those of you watching the last week's episode, you may have noticed the fact I said that I was going to wear a wacky and exciting costume. And, well, I'm going to be honest with you, this isn't it. I'm wearing this because, well, I'm kind of in mourning for the show at the moment. The costume that I was going to wear was like a cheap knockoff version of a Cyberman suit, and... well, I didn't get that far into making it. You may be able to see a weird bump on my head. Well, when I was reaching in my cupboard to try and find some paintbrushes, I tripped, bumped my head and swore a lot and got very angry, and I decided not to do it in the end. But you know what, whatever. That is not what is important now. What is important now is for us to discuss this week's episode. The final episode of the series. And... well, on balance, I have to say that it was fantastic. Truly brilliant, amazing and great, even if in the time after it I spent mostly walking around my room, pacing up and down, trying to take in exactly what I had just seen. Not just in terms of the quality of it, but what it means for the show and where we go forward. Not just with Doctor Who, but with the time shift itself. I felt as though I was on the brink of an existential crisis as I was marching around my room. You see, me recording a reaction video wasn't the funny bit. The funny bit should have just been me trying to make sense of what I'd seen. And it just goes to show why I'm glad that I record these videos at least 24 hours after the fact, so I actually have time to think about what I've just seen and what I just experienced. This week's episode, the finale for this year's series, was keeping with the rest of the series. It was... in parts, dumbfoundingly stupid, but in other bits, it was earth-shatteringly, really great. You know, actually, let's just stop the loving for a moment and actually talk about some of the things that I really didn't like about this week's episode. One of the things I desperately hated, one of the things that gave me a massive, great big fuck you moment towards the start of it, was the fact that the episode started with a time jump. That we went from the Doctor and Missy and the Master and Robo-Bill and Nordole in that room together to suddenly Darling Buds of May in the post-apocalypse. I mean, yeah, great, fantastic visual image. Nice little juxtaposition between the quaint country lifestyle of these otherwise agrarian people and then suddenly this evil, mechanical, industrialised, monstrous world that's encroaching upon them. Great visual imagery, but still... kind of plays with the pacing. I mean, imagine if you're watching these two episodes back to back, you suddenly get the Doctor meeting the ultimate challenge of his life. You've seen one of his companions, one of his best friends, turn into an unfeeling, unthinking monster. You've seen two of his greatest adversaries squaring up ready to kill him. And then suddenly, it's time for the Darling Buds of May. It's time for the Archers with killer robots. And of course, when we have the bit where we actually jump back to what happened in that room, it's this silly artistically done action montage with fuzzy wuzzy bits and black and white bits and Nordole turning around like when he's running away from him and the Doctor falls on a keyboard because he gets hit in the head. And then only shortly after that we discover that him getting hit in the head and typing on the keyboard, he was doing a clever thing.
Hey, I did a very smart thing when nobody was watching off camera and in a scene that was in the main picture.
Oh, fuck you, seriously. You know what? That little thing of him bumping into the keyboard and doing a clever thing probably would have been more significant had we actually seen that scene as live. Had we seen it in its actual original state rather than the I've got a university degree in editing bit that we ended up getting, which I just found so stark and off-putting, not because it was disturbing and distressing, but because it was totally fruitless and ultimately artistic wank. It was a scene and a sequence that was created to create the illusion that the Doctor's not quite right, that his head's a little bit messed up from getting hit in the head, and he's fighting off a regeneration, and the stress and the trauma of everything that's going on, he can't take it. Yeah, but in that scene you've got a key thing that he does, which has ramifications for the rest of the episode, and you just did it. He just fell on the keyboard. Then it turns out he didn't just fall on the keyboard, he actually spent a good few minutes coding something at which the Master and Missy were just, I don't know, so full of their own shit and too busy smelling their own farts that they didn't notice that there he was scripting some great big indie darling indie game or something. And of course the bit with Missy and the Master dancing on the roof because they're so quirky and weird and irreverently weird.
They're so quirky.
You know what? I'm really glad that that was only the real one moment of them being crazy, and the rest of the episode was them actually being dark and sinister or conflicted. In the case of Missy, that the wacky Saturday morning cartoon version of the Master that John Simmer had during his brief tenure on Russell T Davies' time as showrunner is well and truly dead. As I thought at the time, I believe that his performance was more keeping in an actual Doctor performance than it necessarily was with the Master. The Master has never been wacky, silly and crazy. He has never really been a Saturday morning cartoon villain. Sure, at one period he was more or less a moustache-twirling villain, but that's because, you know, you couldn't replace the original. You just got someone with a goatee beard and just shrugged your shoulders and went, right, well, you know what, whatever, we'll use him. It's cheaper than getting more Dalek costumes. It felt very dark at points. And I am honestly amazed by just about all of it. Now, there's one aspect of it that I understand that some people have got quite perturbed about, which is the way in which, well, Bill was Clara'd out of the show. That she's now met this time-space creature and they're now going to have Mary Sue adventures. I don't agree with that at all in the slightest. I think that certainly with Bill, it feels a little bit more deserved than Clara. With the way that it happened with Clara, it was two characters, her and a Shielder, who I frankly didn't like, who didn't really seem as though they deserved this kind of adventure, that kind of power, that kind of opportunity to go off and to do something great and amazing. Bill was turned into a Cyberman. She has gone through hell these past few weeks. She spent 10 years living in this near-apocalyptic Cyberman world, for Christ's sake. And now finally she's getting a chance to be free, to live her life, to be with the person that she loves. I can get behind that. I can see that working. This is a rare instance in this series where it feels genuinely deserved. And it's the only companion exit since I don't know who that's actually felt some way justified. The exits for almost every companion that we had in modern Doctor Who have always felt wonky for me. We had the one with Rose getting sucked off into a parallel universe, and then she gets her own personal doctor to look after, to set up a spin-off series that never happened because it was going to be shit. And then there was going to be, then you had Donna, how she was written out of it. She was written out in a way that she even thinks about aliens, her brains can explode. You had Rory and Amy getting trapped in the past, even though still there was a way the Doctor could have saved them, but I'm not going to go into that rant just here. You had Clara going off into a Mary Sue adventure. You know, this is the one time that it actually felt some way justified. That character that's gone through hell these past few weeks has now got a happy ending. I'm not entirely happy that of just how neatly it worked together, but at the same time I'm happy that she's got a chance at happiness. I'm just sad that we're never gonna get Bill back again. I've heard a rumour that she might be in the Christmas special, but still, even after the Christmas special, she's never gonna be in Doctor Who again. The Bill that we know is effectively dead. She's gone now. She's trapped within that Cyberman body that's now shut down and dead. This new Bill isn't the same Bill. She's an alien creature. She's a weird puddle person going around with her weird puddle person friend. It's weird, it's strange, but whatever. I have nothing else to say, so let us move on now to the overview. I mean, the performance section, not the overview, not yet. I think that given the circumstances and given the fact I'm wearing a suit, and in that way that presents some kind of level of professionality, even though I'm just some arsehole on YouTube with a crappy web camera that does weird shit when I don't want it to, you know, I might as well go full into it this week. I think that this week's episode, just about all the main cast members delivered performances, which again make me very sad that we're never going to see them in that role again, with maybe the Doctor and Bill being the exception to it. We might as well start in reverse. We'll start with the characters that we know are not coming back. I think that this was the defining moment of John Sims' Master. That his attitude, his performance was the kind of Master that we always should have had from him. That he shouldn't have been the wacky, crazy, silly, cartoon villain that he was turned into, and that he should have been this sinister, this abrasive, this unabashed arsehole that we got. That he was purposefully, constantly feeling as though he was controlled and domineering, that he was able to control any situation he was in just by his attitude and his sarcasm alone. It was a feeling of dread and hatred, but at the same time fear that you got from watching him and his performance. And it is a damn shame we're probably never going to see that version of the Master again. That his performance was near perfect, probably without a shadow of a doubt how all Masters should be from now on. Dark, evil, sinister, and troublesome to be around. Missy, I thought, was tragic in this episode. Not tragic in a way that she was bad, but we have a character who, while still is the Master, they've actually gone on something of a character arc. They started off more or less the same way in John Sims' version of the Master did. Wacky, crazy, oh, I'm Missy, I'm so mysterious, ho ho ho, I'm wearing my hat all askew, ho ho ho. And now she's become a person, she became feeling, she became close to being a hero, maybe an anti-hero in the end by her actions, and that she was close to the origin story for the Master that I'm fairly certain isn't canon anymore, that I once read a synopsis for because I could never find a copy of it and I can't remember the name of the book in question. It was a book which explained the origin of the Master, how he became to be the evil person that he was. That it wasn't because he looked into this giant swirling glory hole when he was a child, but because he was like the Doctor at one point, that he was this time-travelling adventurer who saved the day, albeit he was a little bit more willing to kill people. He was closer to a Han Solo type than he really was the Doctor. He would go about saving the day even if that meant killing people. And the idea is that he travelled with a companion, and the companion that he fell in love with, he was going to spend the rest of his life with. Only it turns out that she tried to kill him, that she was hired to assassinate him, and that feeling of betrayal was what sent him over the edge, is what sent him mad and made him an evil monster. I think that that's a better origin story than him just staring off into a swirly, whirly, twirly thing when he was a child with a bad haircut. And I found her final scene to be genuinely sad. I liked Michelle Gomez in this role. Maybe not as the Master, but she was fantastic as Missy. To talk of her as just being another Master isn't really giving her, or indeed the character, credit. She was her own entity. She was an original character, plus the still, and she was great in that role, and we're never going to see her again. She's been killed off, and of course the Master always finds a way, but I'm not sure if she has, and if we are going to see the Master again, it's not going to be Missy, and that's a shame, really. Nordole in this episode again was proven to be a horrifically underused entity. I think that Matt Lucas was fantastic in this role. He was great, he was good, he was a character who on the one hand could be the comic relief, but at the same time sympathetic, and in some points actually, you know, kind of a badass in his own weird little way. It was this interesting, strange, mysterious entity that you didn't really know where he came from or what his backstory was. And it's a shame now that we're never really going to see him again or understand more about him. Maybe in some kind of audio adventure or some kind of book, but I don't really read the books or the audio adventures. He got a slightly more dark ending than any of them. Yeah, Missy is dead, the Master's about to regenerate, the Doctor's back alive, and Bill is dead but back alive as a puddle person. He has to now live up to the fact that he's now trapped in this alien spaceship, and it's only a matter of time before the Cybermen come and kill him. That he hasn't got the Doctor there to make some great big noble sacrifice to stop them anymore. I genuinely hope that he and the rest of the people that are trapped on that spaceship do get something of a happy ending in the end, because otherwise they're living on borrowed time. As for Pearl Mackie as Bill, I think that, again, this is one of the defining moments in her time as being a companion. She started off this series as the quirky, smiley, bright, I was going to say, potentially obnoxious companion. When I heard and saw the previews of her, when we had the preview of her during Match of the Day or whatever it was about a year ago, I was kind of worried that she would be yet another quirky, quippy, fast-talking kind of companion like Amy Pond and Clara Oswald were, like Donna Noble was, but in the end she wasn't. She's probably the most relatable companion I think I personally have seen in a long time. Not since Ace in the original run have I found a companion that I personally can relate to as much as her. And she's gone from being that quirky, light, bright character to being someone who has grown and matured as the series has gone along. She's been the perfect companion in nearly every way, shape and form. That she's gone from being the cliche companion to the ideal ending point for a companion, not someone that has overstayed their welcome, someone who stayed far longer than they need to, who has no room left to grow or develop, and at the end of the day they're given an ending that they really, really don't deserve. Not naming any names there, but I think you can understand, and she was brilliant at the end of it. And Peter Capaldi, whilst this isn't his final time as being the Doctor, and I will talk about him in greater depth over the next few weeks or so, I think that this is pretty much the last we're going to see of him as being the Doctor. That moment where he's giving that speech about why he does it, why he fights, it felt genuine. It felt really genuine in a way that... The thing that annoys me with Doctor Who when it comes to the speeches, as I've said before, is that a lot of writers think that the easiest way to write one of these big speeches, these great and epic speeches, is to throw lots of artistic and poetic words into it, to talk about greater aspects such as life, death, war, peace, and love. And they just throw it into an episode that otherwise will be crap. The entire episode is wrapped around that one speech that he delivers in the end of it, and then the fanboys love it, they discuss it, and they wank off over what a great and inspiring speech it is, and what a great moment it is for Peter Capaldi to deliver this speech. Thumbs up, please subscribe to my Let's Play channel. And in the end of the day, I I've become numb to them because it is just the same thing. It's lofty speeches about bigger, more important things than they really warrant in that situation. And then everybody then magically ignores all the bad points of whatever episode it was. Where it was bad acting, bad sets, or just simply a bad story. Everybody looks over it because, oh, that speech though, that one speech that he delivered in the Zygon inversion. Oh, brilliant, fantastico. Yeah, the main ending point and the whole bit with all Scuds was shite, pointless and went nowhere, but my God, what an inspiring speech. But this time we didn't have that. We had a speech that felt genuine because of the way that Peter Capaldi delivered it, but also the way in which Stephen Moffat wrote it. It felt as though it was Stephen Moffat writing it. It was what he wanted to say. It was him saying goodbye to the show that, on the one hand, he has kept alive, and in some ways he's damaged, but at the end of the day, it feels very personal to him, the speech, and also personal to Peter Capaldi as well. It has a genuine ring of truth to it, the likes of which the other speeches that we've had this series and the previous series and all the way back up to where this series started with New Doctor Who just hasn't been there. We understand the Doctor, why he's doing this in a plain and simple way. Not because of some great speech with a Welsh choir in the background going, oh, or dramatic music in the background. Not because of metaphor or simile or verse or words that are said in ways and means that create the illusion of artistic depth and understanding far beyond that of the writer's own mental capacity, far beyond that which exists in the mortal realm but some way goes off into the world of the abstract, the strange, the artistic and the godlike in a way which doesn't feel natural to the performer, the writer, the situation or the character, but done in a moment, in an instant which felt so pure, so honest that it felt as though the Doctor himself was saying it in this moment. He saw the writing on the wall. He understood that it was here or now that he may well meet his demise, that it was up against it, and it was a desperate moment that he may not survive it. And this was just him letting it all out and hoping and praying that maybe, just maybe, his best friend in the universe will stand by him. And it didn't happen. And that is the great aspect to that scene. We got a speech that felt as though it was from the heart, and not from the pen of some writer who's just completed a university course, or has written a few episodes for Hollyoaks and now suddenly thinks they're God Almighty. But anyway, I have nothing else to say. I'm going to have a bit of swig of my morning coffee to lubricate my voice, and then we'll go to the overview. Okay, so the overview. What did I think of the episode as a whole? And I thought it was fantastic. Yes, it did have some staggeringly dumb moments in it, but the emotive weight of what we had, the quality of the writing and the story at the end of the day, made up for it. I felt, and looking back at it, I feel genuinely sad at what we've just seen. This is the end of so much, but delivered in a way which does feel final, that does feel definitive. That we aren't going to see these characters again, even though we may in a couple of years' time see a new Master. Even though Peter Capaldi and Pearl Mackie are going to be back. Even though we're going to see the Cybermen again at some point. This had such a weight to it that it left me shell-shocked, honestly, after watching the episode. I paced up and down my room. I tried to figure out what I would say today, what wacky, silly jokes I would do, but nothing really felt as though it would fit, because an episode like this you can't really make jokes about, because it is just that good. Yeah, there's bits of it that don't make sense, how the starry-eyed girl was able to get into the TARDIS, how the Doctor was able to code all that information in a split second, that whole bit, that obnoxious montage bit in the beginning with the black and white bit, and other things I don't remember but I think I've got written down, but at the end of the day it really doesn't matter because the overall quality of the episode was that good. I genuinely feel that this is probably one of the best series finales that we've had in Doctor Who, and I love the throwbacks to earlier series. The thing that I particularly liked about this finale is the throwback to the regeneration story for Peter Davison. I can never pronounce the episode title. It's The Caves of Andresalili. And it feels apt that that's the kind of reference that, given the quality of this episode, that they're back referencing to that. Because in that episode, when he's about to regenerate, you have all the previous companions that he's had, either in his time or previous before, just wanting to will him on and bring him back, and you have him in a desperate situation that he's probably not going to survive from. The only difference being that at the end of that, he regenerated. And with this, he fought it off because he wants to survive or something. Yeah, I find the whole thing of him fighting off his regeneration a little bit laboured, and I'm still not entirely sure what it is that caused him to regenerate. Was it the episode, the Lie of the Land one, where he got shot by Bill? Or was it when he got knocked in the head by Missy? I don't know what it is, but they've not really made it clear. But at the same time, I love the fact that they back-referenced it. They back-referenced that back to one of the greatest Doctor Who stories there has ever been. That you reference everything that we've been up to and we've done over the past few weeks and years of Doctor Who here at a point where this time next year, or autumn time next year, Doctor Who may well be presenting in a way in which we've never seen it before. It's going off in a radical new direction, so this felt like a great send-off for that. The Saturday evening family entertainment Doctor Who that we have come to know and love is probably not going to be here anymore after this. This is our last series of this format. That, given some of the things that Chris Chibnall is apparently planning or has been discussing with the BBC, it may go in a radical new direction. A direction which we may have never seen before or may not have seen since the classic era. And to get a throwback to the previous companions to classic Doctor Who in a way which didn't feel like fan service, felt brilliant. This episode felt like a redemption for Stephen Moffat and the previous two series finales that we've had. In that in the first series finale with Peter Capaldi, we had a two-part Cyberman story that ended anticlimactically, which had the Master being revealed as being Missy in it. And last year we had Clara going off and having Mary Sue adventures, which is what happens with Bill, but only this time it felt deserved. Everything came together here in ways and means which felt genuine and, in some regard, add weight to what we've seen over the past few weeks. The bit where Bill is remembering her mum in The Lie of the Land, now we can look at that as not just being a True Love Saves the Day thing, but maybe the starry-eyed girl having some kind of influence on that. It probably would have worked better if it been memories of her instead of her mother, but, you know, I am kind of surprised that we didn't reference back to that anything about her mother. And the whole mystery surrounding who her mother is, what's her significance, has just been, you know, kind of forgotten now. But that wasn't the point of this series, was it? It was the final hurrah for Stephen Moffat. It was him saying goodbye to a series that he genuinely loves, in a way which feels right, for once. Now, I want to say thank you now to everybody that's been watching us for the past few weeks or so. Whether you're a new viewer, this is your first video, or you've been watching us since this run of the Timeshift has begun, or maybe since the Timeshift itself began months, no, at this point years ago. I am now at a point where this is the last proper Timeshift we're going to have for a few months now. Now, for those of you who are now going to switch off, who don't just happened upon this video by chance, who aren't really concerned about what I'm doing next, I'd still say thank you for watching. It has been great having you here. For those of you who have been here from the start, thank you. And if you're switching off now, thank you for watching. You've all been wonderful, amazing. But for anybody else that's wondering what we're doing next, well, I might as well tell you. Next week, we're going to be doing the look back at the Christmas special. It may feel a little bit weird to do a Christmas special review, but I didn't review it this time round. I was too busy doing personal things at the time, so I didn't have a chance to review it. After that, we'll be doing the series overview, chances are the review of the Christmas special will drop at some point this week, with the series overview being sometime next week. After that, we'll end up looking back at the previous series of Doctor Who, Series 9, because again, I didn't have a chance to do a series overview of that. I know that this, for the sake of viewing, is going to look a little bit weird, but I'll adjust this time shift time scale thing. I'll ribble wobble the timey-wimey thing and make it work. Then after that, the series overview of Class. Then after that, I'll be doing a two-part overview, a two-part retrospective of Stephen Moffat's time as showrunner for Doctor Who. Starting off in part 1, looking at the time when Matt Smith was the Doctor, and then in the second part looking at Peter Capaldi's time, or rather his era of being the Doctor. Looking at how it started, the thoughts and feelings that we had, the difficult period that we had in the middle, and where we ultimately found ourselves in the end. After that point, I really don't know what we do next. I hope and we pray that we get another series of Class, just for the fact it gives me something else to talk about, and if not, well, I'll find something else to talk about. There's always something going on. You know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I watched the final episode of that just the other night, so I can talk about that at some point. Iron Fist, I've got to finish watching that and review that. So yeah, there's stuff. Timeshift isn't going away. Even if Doctor Who has, and you yourself may well not be here to watch those episodes. But anyway, I have nothing else to say now, and all I will say to you is thank you for watching, and goodbye. Whoa!